Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. This is Andy, Finding Value Finance. I'll be your host today. We've got Kasper with us. Wanted to bring him on real quick, get some quick updates from him. We're going to talk metals, perhaps a little bit about oil, copper, and then maybe we'll end on Bitcoin to see what's going on there. So thanks for coming on, Kasper. Really appreciate it for your time.
Yeah, sure. My pleasure, Andy.
All right, so I brought you on. What do you want to start with today and work our way through?
Yeah, I think we could just again discuss a little bit of silver, and we agreed to do like shorter time frame stuff, not the long term, decade long, but this is the 2 hourly time frame. So I think if we can start with silver on a day where the markets are closed, so again the price action and the movements are basically non-existent, more or less, right? So let's start with silver. I messed that one up there. If that is okay with you.
Yeah, let's
Good
do
old
it.
silver. So I want to just get rid of that 1 second. Cool. So this here is roughly ever since May. So we are talking, 8 months plus roughly months worth of price action. And I have removed some stuff here, but I think the main takeaway, the way I see it, is we have this 8 month trend line here, which we tried to pierce multiple times. We finally rallied, retesting, and then we had a big pop. And then again, we are in this kind of falling wedge kind of scenario where most likely we are going to break to the upside at some point in time. So I'm just eyeing here the price action for the next, basically the remaining of this month here. I think we will start to break out in silver as long as we hold roughly $30 here. Then this whole falling wedge should take us to higher prices. And the short-term target that I have is roughly around 32, which is this whole supply level up here. Um, so yeah, that is again the short-term stuff that I'm eyeing here. What was good to see was actually that little double bottom just below $30, and then we popped straight back up, and we are actually consolidating somewhat nicely here, just above, this. Again, this is very, very short term. The level here internally at very close to 30. We're just consolidating here, hopefully building up for a move higher for silver.
Okay. Do so you're bullish 2025 first quarter, second quarter here if we get this break.
If
Looking
we
for
get
a
this
move to
break, yeah.
$32 ish.
Yeah, then very short term 32. But again, this could be that start that, in order to take us higher. But I think the main goal for January into maybe February is to break out and then just hold that $30 level, so we don't, awaken the bears and they can short heavily into that. I think that's the main takeaway.
And then what do we have next? Do you want to do gold or what else?
No, I don't think the gold chart is again, it's I don't think it is that interesting at the moment. Not a whole lot is happening since we spoke last time, so I think I think we can look at oil, because I think
Let's do oil.
we um, we have to do a little bit of a long term. Again, we talked about oil, I think like a week or two ago, and the main takeaway is basically the 4 year, 3, 4 year triangle pattern here. You know this one, everyone knows this one on oil, and we are coming to the end of that, and we have to find a way. Do we break out or do we come down really hard? No matter the direction, I think it will be a big move, a violent move, up or down. So I think last time we spoke, I'm actually quite confident that last time we spoke, we have just been breaking this stuff here, if that makes sense. I think that's actually very precise. And now we have also broken this internal trend line, which is actually half a year old, breaking out, trying to consolidate above here, for oil. I'm not going bullish until we start to confirm above that big 77, 77, 78, plus minus a dollar or two, right around here. That is when, personally, I think this whole very dangerous chart, because things are going to be really pricey, but this whole chart here will break to the upside, most likely, and we are in for a uh, a very long-term trend that could last into 2 to 3 years at least.
So you're not bullish on it yet? You're not positioned for it for the move?
No, not yet, not yet. I will start to get the position when we get that breakout. That was my plan all along. I need to see that breakout, and then I will. I have some charts that I follow with the members that we are getting into. I mean, the charts, they have been consolidating for like 3 years or so, so they look very explosive as well.
Mhm.
There are, I think, four that has just one of the what I call like a grade A setup, where you have like 2 years consolidating, just pinching, and if it breaks to the upside, you're going to see a massive rally. But again, I need that price to confirm first. That has been my plan all along, and I will stick to that. Again, I might be coming in a little bit late, but again, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, value is to be made nonetheless. If you're playing the breakout, or I know you do, you're trying to buy, at lower prices because you're expecting that long-term deficit in oil and the higher prices. So both tactics will do well if we get that breakout. Yeah, that is my plan.
77. That's the line in the sand we want to break
Yeah,
here
77.
over the next month or two.
Month or two. Yeah, again, the wedge here, we have the tip still roughly like 2 months you know, space left into that. But again, very rarely do you go all the way into the apex. So again, a month should take us, up or down.
And then once we break 77 and hold, it's all sheets to the wind.
Yeah, it is. Again, not in a straight line, obviously, but again, that's when you
Right.
confirm the long-term trend. And you will have, 2 steps up, 1 step down. Yeah, you know the drill. It is an uptrend with where you have to have that mentality. You buy the pullbacks if you want to trade it or add into the sector. Yes, for sure.
I think I see Palladium on there. Is that what you've got on there next?
Yeah, Palladium, one of the more frustrating charts. It's similar-ish to some degree like nat gas, very, very erratic, can move uh, very sporadically one way or the other. But I'm still, in the camp that we are making a really good attempt to bottoming out here. And again, I said we were going to only use the 2 hourly, but I have to show the long term here actually, going back to like 2011. So we have a bit of a broad supply and demand zone here between 850 and all the way up to roughly, let's call it 950, where we have seen resistance when we came from below and support when we actually came from the top side here. That was actually a beautiful retest scenario back in 18. Um, so what is happening now? In my opinion, we are actually, again, having a really, really good attempt at the bottom here. These two being the inverted head and shoulders, you know, topping the top points there. And right now here, we are flagging or having a falling wedge into that supply and demand. And if we break to the upside, I think we have a good chance of this being that right shoulder. And then you know exactly how it should be measured. Again, if we are to confirm this pattern at roughly 1,250, you are getting a measured move based on that at, I think it is roughly 1,000, almost 2,000 actually, on the Palladium chart. But keep in mind, you have a ton of resistance here when we get there at roughly 1600. That will be a major revisit of that whole neckline over here, that topping pattern where we broke down and testing. So if we get back to that, you will probably see a larger pullback at that point in time. But the measured move still stands, roughly 2K on that one there. So I think
Bullish or bearish at this exact moment or neutral?
I'm
Right.
neutral. I need to see, this. I think this falling wedge here into the supply and demand zone, if it breaks to the upside, I become short-term bullish because I'm expecting like a spike here. But I need to see that, momentum here roll over into the long term as well. So this could be the precursor of completing the bottom of the right shoulder, and then we need to spend a few months here grinding out the right side of that right shoulder, and then potentially that break. So yeah, it is finally getting to that point where we could have a decisive moment for Palladium. Um, But again, it's very tricky. Palladium is a tricky one. It has been fooling me many times. So let's see how it goes.
Since we're talking about platinum group metals, what I see you got platinum next.
Yo,
Would you rather
boy,
be long platinum or palladium?
I would actually be, if I had to pick this moment, I would be platinum. Um, Again, it's still in the same kind of picture where we're still having that big overall inverted head and shoulders with a flag here at the end, which was the exact same thing we saw on gold before it broke 2075. It had a flat top. This is declining a tiny bit, but basically the same kind of price action. And the 2 hourly, some interesting stuff here happened at the beginning of 2025. Similarly, we had that falling wedge like we just saw on Palladium into the uptrend. We broke below, we came into the retest, and you can see here, this is actually some beautiful price action. Some technically, what happens here is breaking down, testing, and then we get testing from the inside, going all the way to the other side of this whole fractal, and having a little pushback, and then we break through. So again, false breakdowns often comes with a huge reversal into the other side. So short term, very bullish on platinum here, and that could be the precursor again to completing this whole flag here that we have in the inverted head and shoulders. Keep in mind though, we could be having a retest first, by the way. But again, I think the trend short term is set to higher prices, and hopefully that can spill over and complete my level for platinum, which is 1,050 to like 1,100 roughly, give or take, because at that point in time we are finally, and I say finally, confirming that whole neckline there, and we can do the measured move as well based on this pattern alone, roughly 1,500 and change based on this only. So
Yeah, you think if we break through all these structures here, that we get a gigantic move out of this thing?
I
If
mean,
we
I
were to
do
break
based
out
on I do
all
based
that?
on again longer term. Again, if this confirms and it hits the target, again on the way to that target, you're triggering so many other price targets along the way that this, in my opinion, would be the first major target. We might have a deeper pullback, but again, you are triggering a much larger fractal all of a sudden, and you should be looking at higher prices. Again, it won't happen over 1 year. Again, this is very long term. You're talking 2, 3, 4 years, and yeah, so baby steps here. And again, let's call it like 1,100. At that point in time, I think platinum looks really good. But it will take some time, and platinum has been teasing us for a year or two. So hopefully we are at the end stage of this whole thing here. And
Fingers crossed.
fingers crossed, yeah. And actually, I did just a brief dive into. I think platinum here is tracking oil to some degree as well, if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken. So again, I haven't done the full in-depth, view on that. And if oil is breaking out, again, you could have a theory that platinum, for some reason, will follow because they do track each other somewhat nicely. So
Which leads us into Dr. Copper.
good old
I've
Dr.
seen some
Copper.
positive developments there
Yeah, I
recently.
mean it is positive, but it could also become very dangerous very quickly if again we are at that moment where um, that also could be the case. And I will give you my reasoning for both here. I am more bullish than bearish, especially given that whole short-term double bottom here. We hit the uptrend from basically 2022 and the big $4 level, which is just such a massive level to hold. Because if let's say we start gonna break down, it opens up and move all the way down to 3.3 and maybe more. But again, that's the initial target in my opinion. And so again, $4 we really need to hold. But to me, again, this basically the fractal here for 2024. To me, it looks like we are going to have something like that, little pullback, and then we go. That is what I'm seeing here, and what I have the highest likelihood of. Again, we won't know until somewhere in the next month. We will see that potential breakout in copper. And then I am targeting at least, the upper blue here. So again, roughly the double top there at 5.3 or so, if we get that move. Of course, if we break that again, it opens up higher targets, but that is the initial target for me.
Okay.
And just here on
Any
the 2 hourly,
other,
since yeah.
I was gonna say, any other comments on copper?
Yeah, again,
Do
we
you,
talked about being on the short term. Again, we are into some very short term resistance here at roughly 4.3. So I do expect some sort of pullback here into the potential retest all the way down to 4.2 or thereabouts. That wouldn't surprise me at all over the next week or so. We have come quite far from 4 all the way up to 4.3. That is a big move in a very short period of time. So again, pullback I think is probably in the books here for the next week or so.
okay. And then when are we gonna hit natural gas $10?
10? I don't have 10 on my radar as of now, but again, I still have my $6 target. Again, that could spill over into higher prices, but $6 is my
Yeah,
is
I'm just
my
messing.
is my target. So I think we also talked about this last time. Again, inverted head and shoulders. We broke here. I'm long gas, and again, the target is somewhere up here at $6. It is also the big waterfall level over here, the supply level $6. So that's where I'm expecting a bigger pullback. But again, natural gas, insanely difficult to get right, the timing wise, but also the levels to hit. So yeah, gas here, I am still extremely strong, extremely long and bullish, just like I were like 2 weeks ago when we talked. And we also are getting back above the 8-year, 10-year support right now, which is also a very, very good thing if you're a bull. Um, you can see short term here on the 2 hourly. We have been breaking basically the fractal from 2025 here. We did break today, breaking out, retesting. So again, short term it looks good, long term it looks good. The danger for gas here is if we start to break this little uptrend that we have there, then it opens up to a potential move down before we again go higher, because we are in an uptrend no matter what still. I need to see a lot more technical damage before that changes my view on gas here. And it is getting pretty damn cold in Denmark as well. And I know it's getting cold in the US also. So yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna eat through inventory pretty quick. We'll be below the 5-year average.
Oh,
And if
really?
that
Yeah.
occurs at the same time that we've got liquefied natural gas plants coming on, I mean, we could see a huge spike
Yeah, we could.
because we can't, I don't think the supply can respond fast enough if we draw down any more through January and February, if we start getting below the average.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it could cause a price spike.
Yeah, it could. It could. And you can see here if we can if we can stay above here roughly 3.6, the pivot low there, the high there again, all of a sudden you have so much support below you that it again it can break down, of course, but again it gets less and less likely once you start to confirm above these levels. So in my
Mhm.
opinion, until proven otherwise, you should be looking at higher gas prices in the near future. And yeah.
Yeah, I think nat gas could be it was such a good buy in early 2024 at that bottom there.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, it
now you're
was
up quite a
the
bit. Yeah,
yeah, we did come
early
down to
20.
yeah, these low-hanging fruits there. We really got into that little zone and then we snapped back quite quickly. So
Yeah,
yeah.
nat gas was the cheapest on a ratio perspective early 2024 to all the other commodities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also here you talked about, $10 gas here. Again, if this is a rounding bottom per se, again, it is not out of the woods by any means, right?
Yeah.
So it could it be, yeah, but I have $6 on my radar. When we hit that, if we hit that, I'm starting to, see what could happen from there. But again, this massive correction, one, two, three, four, five, again, very, I would say, somewhat of a textbook, drawdown where you have the third wave down being the longest. So Yeah,
Let's rip it.
interesting,
Let's get natural
interesting.
gas up there.
Yeah.
It looks like an inverted head and shoulders too, almost to
Which
some
one did you
degree.
say?
Yeah, that one that you got there, inverted head and
Yeah,
shoulders.
exactly.
Number
Yeah,
five being the head.
yeah, exactly. You could also have that, but I agree that could also be your head and shoulders with the neckline a tad higher. So yeah. Oh, excuse me. Great bottoming process here, and I think we are on the cusp of confirming that bottom here, or has confirmed it already, depending on which neckline you use. So,
So I see you've got Bitcoin on there. Tell me how bearish you are on Bitcoin.
not. I mean, it looks very bearish, and there are some scenarios I think we can go through here. And again, I think most of your viewers are on Twitter. If not, they should be. And this is the whole 3 month, topping pattern, the head and shoulders. Everyone is posting it, so it is quite clear that again, and it looks like we're going to break down. I have my neckline level at roughly, again, plus minus, a few $100 here, 91K, give or take. If we start to break down there, unless proven otherwise, we have the measured move down to 77. And if we get there, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a tag of at least also that previous all-time high back in 2024 at 74K. And if things get really nasty here short term, which it could, again, we haven't really been testing that whole trend line, which was basically our breakout moment. And again, the charts usually want to confirm that. So again, we could go all the way down to 66 if things get really, really nasty for Bitcoin here in over the next 2 months maybe. But again, let's have that first target met before we start to talk those lower prices. In
No
order,
$20,000 prediction.
not yet. Again, this is my first view here. If we start to break down more, I mean, I will definitely say 20K is in the cards if you take out that whole uptrend. I mean, that's all of a sudden, oops, we are going to see a lot lower prices no matter what people are going to say. Um, but again, that moment in time is somewhere below like 60, roughly.
Gotcha.
Then again, it gets very, very dangerous for Bitcoin. But for now, the target, if we break and confirm, will be that 77 for the Bitcoin people.
I'm sure they'll
In
be
order,
super excited about that.
yeah.
Michael
Again,
Saylor's especially.
Michael Saylor, yeah. Again, I have nothing, against the whole crypto, but Michael Saylor, he's a piece of work. I think that's the correct term, I guess. I'm not an American, but I think that, yeah, that is correct.
I
But
like his
yeah,
analogies. That's what I'll say.
yeah, 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 exactly. Again, I have nothing against the whole crypto, but yeah, the terminology used sometimes is a bit weird to me. So, but again,
He
before
says,
yeah,
Mhm.
go
Well,
ahead,
I
Andy.
was going to say, he says we're going to 13 million a coin or something. He's just
Yeah,
making up
yeah,
these big numbers.
yeah. That is a big number for sure. That is a big number. Um, we shall see. Again, for now at least, we are topping out, it seems. So
Okay.
yeah. And again, the bullish thing we could see if we have the breakdown, and usually again, I'm talking about retesting a lot, but basically, in my view, what a retest is we break down and then we kind of confirm, is this a breakdown or not? And again, usually with like 70, 80% chance, you're going to roll over. The bullish thing is if we test and we get back in, and all of a sudden you can actually start to see some moves in the other direction because people are going short here. They have to cover back their position basically. So that is the bullish view. If we are to break down, we have to get back above somewhat quickly, and then we can actually have a surge. But until that is the case, that is your neckline. We are sitting right there. So interesting. And and
Yeah.
and and my opinion on Bitcoin is basically it is the ultimate liquidity indicator. If there's excessive liquidity in the system, Bitcoins get it is so leveraged to the tech sector that again, whenever people want to, I wouldn't say gamble, but if they want to get some leverage, they use crypto as the ultimate tool. And for now, it has worked. Somewhat. I mean, a lot of people has made a lot of money on crypto, so it's still the land of where you can make 200% in like half a year or like 3 months if you're lucky.
So, of the things that we covered today, what are you most bullish on out of the ones
Gas.
that we've covered today?
Yeah,
Gas?
gas. Yeah, just like I said last time, when we talked about energies, until proven otherwise, or if we start to see oil really going potentially really hard to the upside, if we get that breakout, gas is still the play to me because you have the breakout already. It looks bullish. The bottom seems to be in. And if we're looking at platinum, we still have to confirm above, 1,100 roughly. So until that happens, I'm not going to be, from a charting perspective, bullish on platinum. Same thing for oil. We need to get above that 78, roughly 77. So right now here, I'm actually, if I were to pick one, only extremely bullish on the gas, on the net gas.
All right. Well, we'll do another question. Silver or platinum? What do you like more?
I want to show you something here. I know you're more of a platinum guy, and I'm more of a silver guy. But again, if we have to let the charts
I,
speak, again, the charts
I
they never
own
lie.
both.
So
I own
yeah.
both in almost equal amounts, if you want to know.
Okay, I thought you were. I have to invert that, by the way. I have to go to the platinum first here. Excuse me, because I
Yeah,
did
you're,
post
you're showing a
something.
falling wedge, right?
Exactly. I did post something like a week ago. This is
Mhm.
the monthly. I'll go to the weekly. This is extremely long term, and again, these could be some early signs that we could have platinum again. It's very, very, very early, but this whole big fractal macro, three falling
Mhm.
impulses here. You know these as well. Breaking below here a little bit, and now we're back in here. And if anything showed you that the false breakdown on which one was it? Was it platinum, the short-term platinum? We had that false breakdown, and then you snapped back quite heavily like that. If that is the case, platinum will be the better player compared to silver. So yeah, very interesting here. And yeah, we could have a scenario where platinum will be way better. Both will do well in that scenario, but platinum could be the better play. But we need
Fingers
that
crossed.
that whole breakout confirmation here before that happens. But again, I like to use that terminology that from false breakdowns comes huge reversals, and this could be one of them. So that's
Fingers crossed. Here we
but
go. Let's do it.
uh,
Let's
I do
let's rip
think,
it all the way to 120.
yeah, I think we can
Yes.
make something like that. The falling wedge into that. I had that on as well on the chart. So uh, platinum, yeah, why not? Again, it has an amazing 20-year setup, and so again, confirming that 1,100 roughly will take us to higher prices, a lot higher prices for the platinum.
Well, what was it? If we get to the 120 mark, that's where we got before up there. It'd be 120 times $30 for silver, roughly speaking. That's $3,600 platinum if silver remains at 30.
Yeah, it won't be. It will
Yeah.
be higher than 30, so you can do the math yourself.
Yeah.
I
It'll
mean,
be it'll be a lot more if we get
yeah,
up to
I
that
mean,
120-ish area. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But again, there will be some big resistance this year. Again, the first big target will be roughly 50. Right, very clear,
That's
horizontal level on the chart. 150, should be 50 here. And then again, you have something around this here at roughly 75. Some
it's
big
a
levels
double from
too.
where we're at though. 50 is
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, roughly double.
in
Yeah,
terms of silver.
yeah. So again, if silver stays here, we're talking 60% on top roughly for platinum. So we're talking that 1,500 or so if it stays the same for silver.
Yeah,
Um,
but it could be crazy. What if silver breaks out of that big cup and handle, runs to something like 200 bucks, and platinum goes back to 100 to 1 ratio or something,
yeah,
which
for sure.
5x is, four or 5x is the silver.
Yeah,
Man, that
then you're
return would be
talking.
ridiculous.
Yeah, then you're looking at like 20K. But again, that will be like 10 years out, in my opinion, like 10 years. But you're talking like 20, 25K if my math is just correct here on top, quickly here. But again, that's 10
Mhm.
years out, maybe, 5 to 10 years. So yeah, and I do believe that whole cup and handle play will play out on silver. So
I
that is
do.
not
I
totally out of
do.
the woods there. I would expect at least this ratio, if it breaks out, at least to go to 75 to 1. because it is such a big pivot high over here and the lows there. So
It's a 3x, right? So platinum with 3x whatever silver does. That's crazy
yeah, and
because
silver
I
will
think
do,
silver's
yeah,
going way up.
yeah. So you're talking, many multiples if that is the case. And I know many people, again, fundamentally are talking about, the demand for platinum going down. Uh, it might be, but again, you can also have a scenario where the output is dropping even more. So again, therefore you can have these imbalances in the whole equation, even though platinum demand drops. So
Or it goes up like that because they're all wrong and they think that electric vehicles,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
we don't have the minerals to provide it. So then
No, we
people
don't. We
run
don't.
back to
Yeah, we
hybrids and
don't.
stuff like that.
Yeah. And this right there, the start of 2025 could be the
Yeah.
the the exact start of that. Again, this is a 20-year chart, so it will take time to play out.
Any other comments or questions or anything that you want to make to everyone after reviewing all this?
Not from my side, but maybe what are you most from these seven tickers that we have, what is your best play here, and your reasoning?
Yeah, so I'm pretty patient, so I kind of take the timing out of it.
Mhm.
I think that if you're really patient, I like the oil equities a lot because oil is looking good. I think it will break to the upside. Even if we get a false breakdown, I think it'll just be temporary. So the equities are incredibly priced, and you don't get that type of pricing. So yeah, you get a lot of inverted head and shoulders too, with some of the companies. So the fractal sizing, the ratio of oil to gold, oil to the Nasdaq. I don't know if you've seen that, but you should price oil in terms of the Nasdaq and see it's already broken out. Same with oil in relationship to the S&P 500. So the Nasdaq is IXIC is the one I use, but yeah, you can use that one too.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna clean it up a bit here. This is oil divided by
So
the Nasdaq, so
yeah,
I'm just gonna.
if you do oil, which is CL1,
Oh, that one, yeah.
which
Okay,
is
cool.
crude oil, yes, and then divide that by IXIC, which is the Nasdaq Composite
Oh, okay.
Index. And then we just recently had a falling wedge that's looking
Yeah,
pretty good.
yeah. We
Um,
have that
I
all over there. Yeah.
yeah, it's starting to basically break out, and we're coming from such low levels compared to history that I don't try to force a time frame on it.
No.
So if we're coming from these levels that are just so stinking low, I'm just going to put money in it and sit. And
Mhm.
then with time, I think it will definitely come. And I look at the fundamentals. So I look at oil, like the shale in the United States. I think we're plateauing. I think we could roll over maybe a year or two. I don't see how this doesn't go way up. So if I can buy this at a ratio that's down here lower than what it was last bull market,
Mhm.
I would
Yeah.
I would I would just take that bet and just sit in it. I
Yeah.
think it's also cheap against the S&P 500. It also broke out. If you do gold versus oil, we saw a breakdown where, yeah, if you do yeah, that's oil versus gold. You could do that too. It'll show the same thing. But these are also starting to rotate and turn. And this will, if you flip it around, do gold to oil. So GC1, uh,
Which one did you want to have?
do GC1. Well, you know what? I can show you.
Yeah,
Here,
sure.
I
Let
can
let
just
me
share
uh let
it.
me stop
I've
sharing
got it
here.
pulled up right here. Yeah. Um, so this is the way that I view it. Um, I think that this
Hmm.
is a gigantic shoulder. The neckline's coming through here, head, shoulder, on
Mhm.
this ratio here. And then when I look on the right hand side, if I were to kind of zoom in, we've got a breakout of this near term kind of shoulder head shoulder deal with a weird neckline. It may not be technically a shoulder head shoulder, but we've broken down on it. And this ratio at 1 to 36, I mean, that is basically the second or third cheapest time in the history going back to the
Hmm.
1800s.
Yeah.
So what I do is I don't really, it doesn't phase me the volatility that we get in the short term here. I just don't worry about it. But if I could buy at a 40 to 1 ratio up here, like we did in December, some of the equities, then I see that as just it's a way to play this where you just have to sit. It's a time. It's just you have to sit in it.
Yeah.
I'm not as worried about getting pullbacks. This is crude oil versus Dow Jones.
Oh, that is very
This is
clean.
what
Yeah.
I
Two
see, and
year.
then I
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
basically we're breaking out.
Oh, that's clean.
Crude oil versus gold. That's what I see there as a wedge forming and then a breakout potentially
Mm.
there.
Yeah. No.
Crude oil versus gold, and if you draw it a different way, you can obviously draw things tighter too.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I like the buying pressure I'm seeing in the corner there. Big green candlesticks, the small reds. Crude oil versus nat gas. I think we're seeing another consolidation on the ratio
Oh,
there, and
yeah.
we could get a
Yeah. That.
breakout
Yeah. That's
of
quite
crude
nice, to
oil
be
versus
honest.
nat gas,
Yeah. That's a good
falling
one.
wedge there.
Yeah.
Crude oil versus palladium. This is this is where I wanted to enter, was a corner there, and then you
Mm.
just sit and stay long. Crude oil versus palladium. I know people don't really care about that, but crude oil versus platinum. We're squeezing into the corner. And we're basically breaking out
That's a
here.
nice one. Yeah, the trend line there from the tops down. It's again, it's so dead on that I like that one as well. That's really cool. That's really good.
um, Crude oil versus silver. And then
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
usually what
Yeah.
I do is I try hitting the closing prices
Yeah. Okay.
on
Yeah.
these, but some people do it different ways. But
Yeah.
that's
I'm
real
most.
close to breaking out.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
crude oil versus the S&P 500. And I just, again, it's these squeeze ups in the corners and then the breakouts and then the consolidations, flag patterns, and it just stair steps up, 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 up.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I look at this, everything I look at, it screams that I should be bullish on crude oil.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. I mean, it's
so that's kind of where I'm at.
yeah. Again, I haven't checked these ratios in a very long time, and it's also giving me a little bit of a more bullish bias due to the chart that we're looking at on oil. Again, it's so close to breaking out, and it is trying to outperform the big guys as well in the Nasdaq and so on. So, yeah, energy. I wrote that on X as well. Energy, make energy great again in 2025. And again, gas looks fantastic. Oil could be following up here quite shortly. So yeah, it could be a big year initially here for energy, hopefully splitting into longer term as well. But yeah.
I would say December was pretty bearish on oil for just the sentiment wise was super bearish, and that's when I was like, you know what, I got to buy a whole bunch of this because
Yeah.
it's just so cheap. And then all the ratios looked like they were squeezing in the
Mm.
corners, and I was like, oh man, this is ready to go. Let's get this thing going. But I buy early and I hold long, so that's kind of that's what I
Yeah.
do. A lot of more technical analysis type people that are like more strict, I would be entering way early compared to them.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, each strategy has its own, strength and pitfalls. So again, as long as you have a good strategy, both will work great in each way to its own. So yeah, it's
Yeah, I try to buy the ultimate bottom. Sometimes I get burned,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. That's
that's
the
what I try to do.
yeah.
So, anything else? Anything else you want to chat about or anything?
No, not really. I mean, it's again, 2 weeks apart is quite often, but I like these short videos here. It's getting late here, so it's nice to have someone to talk to. That's quite good. So
Yeah, yeah, we can even maybe do a clip where we go back and forth talking about all of the assets out there, no holds bar, and maybe rank them for 2025 or something. Do something crazy and
yeah, we
see
could do that. Yeah,
see what actually occurs. I
yeah,
don't make investments based off predictions, but we can try to rank it or something like that and see how it actually comes out in the end.
yeah, we could. And also something that is very overlooked in my opinion is the soft commodities. They are they could perform really, really well, and no one is looking at them because they're boring. So that could also be a potential video in the future. So
All right. So if somebody wants to follow your work, how do they do it?
as always, Uselinkinv on the on YouTube, on Twitter, and on the Substack. That's where I do the most of the work. So that is where to yeah, follow what I do on a daily basis. So
All right, guys. That's all we've got. We'll catch you next time, guys. See ya.